Now that has caused tensions in Mexico, and this following footage was on July the 4th. They organized it and they went to every place where Edomites, so-called white people are. All right.
Violent over the weekend as protesters took to the streets. People gathered calmly to express concerns about issues like rising rents, displacement of locals, and how tourism is affecting their neighborhoods.
So as the issue of illegal immigration continues to play a major role right here in America, there's another immigration crisis out there nobody's talking about, taking place in Mexico, a country whose economy benefits greatly from illegal U.S. border crossings. Yet recently riots have broken out, with locals rising up against foreigners who've legally entered their country. And these rioters, they only want one thing, and that's to get rid of the Americans.
These protesters in Mexico City say cross-border migration is changing their country's capital for the worse. Over the last decade, an influx of mostly American so-called digital nomads have moved here to work remotely and also enjoy a cheaper cost of living.
My name is Derek Morgan Jr. I'm 34 years old and live in Mexico City. I'm on track to make more than $350,000 a year in 2025. I've always loved traveling. I've been to 60 countries so far. One thing about travel is just I really love to explore new cultures, new food, new people.
I feel like it wasn't that long ago that we did see who some of these people were. It's hipsters with the laptops, with the remote jobs who are like, it's so cheap here, I'm moving here. And I am wondering how they are handling it. A lot of them are probably like, well, they don't mean me.
I'm here because gentrification is just one more step towards colonization, dispossession, and the exploitation of our resources.
If they're going to live in a country, they have to contribute to that country. They come here with visas or no visas, and still the change in purchasing power generates these problems.
I think this story proves that everybody likes borders.
And let me say this: the reason why they're writing is because you saw that black guy. He basically moved to Mexico, all right, to get these jobs where you can work from home for American companies. And the cost of living there, the peso and the dollar is incredible gap. So and by the way, you can go to Mexico and be there for 180 days, all right, visa free, if you are an American citizen. Now, if that's the other way around, all right, are Mexicans allowed to get into America and have 180 days visa free? No, they cannot. All right, they can't do that. So they're pouring in to places like Mexico City, all right, and they're driving up the house prices, which is called what? Gentrification, which really means kicking you Israelites out of your country. And don't be fooled. As I said, those two horns, all right, Republicans and Democrats, let's get them on the screen, man. All right, Republicans, all right, and Democrats. The Democratic Party, which is all bullshit, man. Which is all garbage, you know what I mean? Wanting abortions and all this kind of madness. See, it doesn't matter whether it's them or the Republican Party, all right? They're all working for the elites, man, all right? And I guarantee you, this situation that's happening over there in Mexico, they want this. They want chaos, because chaos brings what? The order. Order out of chaos, man, all right? And that's basically showing you that is preparing you for this great tribulation. All right, you need to have disorder and chaos. All right, in order for this prophecy to come to fruition. Verse 22, and it says, "Except those days be shortened," and except those days be shortened. So basically, the Lord is going to have to speed up the time. Why? There should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. So the killing that is going to happen, All right. And this is why we also bring out Revelations, all right, 12 and 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, all right, having great wrath, because he knoweth he have but a short time. Short time to do what? To complete his new world order. So he's working around the clock, all right, to cause division and chaos everywhere. All right, and it's working. And the reason why it's working, because the Lord wants it to work, all right, so his prophecies can come to pass. All right, but there's an elect is going to be saved, all right, because the Lord is not going to allow them, all right, to be touched by the enemy. The Lord is going to, and their new world order is going to come to naught eventually, man. They're going to reach the pinnacle of it, but it's going to come to naught. All right, that's why our Lord and Savior Yahushua is called what? He saves, he delivers. Okay.
So Americans living in Mexico are being blamed for many of the country's problems. But even though this is incredibly ironic, nobody's focusing enough on the fact that the Americans in Mexico, they came in legally, which might make this even more ironic, because it's one thing to protest illegal immigration and quite another to protest the presence of people who came into a country obeying all of its laws, which Americans in Mexico can do for up to 180 days without even needing a visa, provided they support themselves and are not a drain on Mexico's non-existent welfare state. And with many Americans bringing their incomes with them south of the border, the presence of rich foreigners in Mexico City does a similar thing to what it's doing right here in New York City, where people with higher incomes earn money and then spend it on things like rent and food, which is where these riots in Mexico City come in, where the agitators are voicing concerns about the rising cost of living in their community. However, housing costs and living costs in general could be addressed by their government, who could incentivize things like new home construction to alleviate any
Yeah, but they're not going to do that because they're controlled by those two little horns, those two parties, man. They're not going to do that. All right. So what is that gonna lead to? Because there's prophecy of race riots, and if you look at that footage, they were only smashing up everything that was white and American. That was it, man. All right. That was it, and you're seeing that now in America as well, on another low level, man, where Latinos and so-called African Americans, you know, are starting to do solidarity and all that kind of stuff. But the reality of the situation is that this man is, you know, this rebranded Rome, and their millions are working around the clock. All right, basically to divide people. But that's what the Lord wants. But eventually, what's going to happen is things are going to get so bad, all right, so authoritarian, all right, that people are going to go back to their own people. This business of being in a multicultural society and all holding hands is going to be stopped. All right, Matthew 24:7. All right, for nation shall rise against nation, all right, and kingdom against kingdom, and we're seeing that already, man. All right. Different kingdom, Russia and Ukraine, all these different wars. But when it says nation against nation, all right, what's it talking about? It's talking about nationality, one race against another, man. Okay, and that's what you're seeing there. They targeted nothing, everything that was. I mean, look at this. 34 years old, and he's a Jake, and he's earning that amount of money, working at home remotely. You know, see, so of course, what is that causing? All right, chaos, confusion, and that's what they want. They want the people to riot, man. All right. What's that? What's scripture? You know, it's all prophecy, man. All right. Let's Let's see. All right, this is second Ezra 9:1. He said, answered unto me, and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before. So these are signs, all right, that we should be looking for. All right, verse 2, then shalt thou understand that is the very same time wherein the highest begin to visit the world that he made. All right, so the Lord is doing all this. All right, he's doing all this. He's using his left hand side, Satan, you know, his left hand side, which is Satan and his demons, to control these different governments around the world, so they can actually put in this infrastructure for this new world order, ignoring laws, putting people against each other, because it's all Bible prophecy. All right, verse 3, therefore when thou shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world. Uproars of the people. All right, uproars of the people, like you're seeing all around the world, man. All right, and let me say this, man, it was a beautiful thing to see them, you know, spraying "Go Home Gringo," man. All right, that was a beautiful thing. They're actually understanding who their enemy is, man. All right, verse 4, then thou shalt well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, and even from the beginning. All right, so that these are signs that the Heavenly Father is visiting the world that he made. All right, and when it comes down to it, all right, as I said, 70 AD was terrible.
Ordered his entire army.
All right, 70 AD was terrible, and history will repeat itself. Because, as I said, this is Rome all over again. America's Rome all over again. All right. Now, the Bible tells you, all right, to remember the days of old, right? All right. And the Lord requires what is past. But also King Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. If you thought that 70 AD was bad, all right, the Great Tribulation will be even worse. But 70 AD, this is the kind of stuff that this devil did. So I'm just going to play something for you. And it's good to know this history, man. And it was many different factors that brought this war, which started in around about 66 AD, you know, because they were occupying force. That's how Rome was, man. Remember what Rome is. Remember, it's the fourth beast. All right. I remember what it said about the fourth beast. All right. Daniel 7:7. And after I saw in the night's vision, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible. See, a fourth beast. That was the Roman Empire. And strong exceedingly, and had great iron teeth. Its military. Right, devoured and brake into pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. All right. Those beasts was diverse because of the Senate and how it chose its leaders. And the 10 horns, which is the power, is the 10 vassal states that they had, you know, when they had this Roman Empire. All right. But it said it had great iron teeth. And it's talking about their military. And when you look at 70 AD, boy, remember Esau's weapon, his blessing was a sword. All right. So this was the destruction. All right. So I'm going to play a bit of this and then I'll close out. But you'll be mindful that all of this devil's endeavors, all right, when it comes to this so-called New World Order, the Lord is going to upset that, all right, and that's not going to happen. They're going to get to the pinnacle of it, and it's going to be destroyed, man. It's going to come to naught.
To prepare to storm the temple at dawn. A total of 60,000 Roman legionaries and local auxiliaries were eager to deliver the final blow to the defiant but broken city. Within the walls, 500,000 starving Jews survived in diabolical conditions. Some were fanatical religious zealots, some were freebooting bandits, but most were innocent families with no escape from this magnificent death trap. Titus set about reducing Jerusalem with systematic efficiency and overwhelming force. The Jews fought for every inch with almost suicidal abandon. As the blistered and jagged hills sprouted forests of fly-blown crucified cadavers, the city within was tormented by a sense of impending doom, intransigent fanaticism, whimsical sadism, and searing hunger. Yet the rebels were still fighting. Although Titus was proving to be a gifted commander and a popular son of the new emperor, Vespasian's unproven dynasty depended on victory over the Jewish rebels. Jerusalem was, Josephus observed, like a wild beast gone mad, which, for want of food, fell now upon eating its own flesh. The Romans fought back and pushed the Jews into the temple itself. One legionary seized with a divine fury, grabbed some burning materials and lit the curtains and frame of a golden window linked to the rooms around the actual temple. By morning, the fire had spread to the very heart of holiness. The Jews, seeing the flames licking the Holy of Holies and threatening to destroy it, made a great clamor and ran to prevent it. But it was too late. They barricaded themselves in the inner court, then watched in aghast silence. Thousands of civilians and rebels mustered on the steps of the altar, waiting to fight to the last, or just die hopelessly. All had their throats cut by the exhilarated Romans, until around the altar lay dead bodies heaped one upon another, with the blood running down the steps. 10,000 Jews died in the burning temple. A cracking of vast stones and wooden beams made a sound like thunder. Josephus watched the death of the temple. The roar of the flames streaming far and wide mingled with the groans of the falling victims, and owing to the height of the hill and the mass of the burning pile, one would have thought the whole city was ablaze. And then the din, nothing more deafening or appalling could be conceived than that. There were the war cries of the Roman legions sweeping onward, the howls of the rebels encircled by fire and swords, the rush of the people who, cut off above, fled panic-stricken only to fall into the arms of the foe, and their shrieks as they met their fate. You would have thought the Temple Hill was boiling over from its base, being everywhere one mass of flame. Mount Moriah, where King David had placed the Ark of the Covenant, and where his son Solomon had built the first temple, was seething hot, full of fire on every part of it, while inside, dead bodies covered the floors. Now the rampaging Romans, seeing that the inner temple was destroyed, grabbed the gold and furniture, carrying out their swag before they set fire to the rest of the complex. Titus decided to eradicate Jerusalem, a decision which Josephus blamed on the rebels. The rebellion destroyed the city and the Romans destroyed the rebellion.
So you saw all that blood, man, just running down. It was a terrible thing that happened, but it was prophesied to happen. So this great tribulation coming is going to be worse than that. All right, much worse than that. But the Lord is going to disappoint them, man, because He knows everything. He's put it in their minds. He's put it in their minds to do all this thing, but he's going to disappoint them. You know, it's absolute madness to fight against your maker. All right, this is Job 5:12. All right, and we must have faith in this. He disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. And that enterprise is what? That new world order. All right. All right. Verse 13, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. They meet in darkness in the daytime, and they grope in the noonday as in at night. So you look at their what's it called, their club rooms and their Davos, where you had this guy, what's his name, Klaus Schwab, I think his name is, talking about we're gonna have a system where everyone's gonna be implanted and stuff like that. That's not gonna happen to the Lord's elect. All right, all of that is gonna be the company. The Lord is gonna destroy this enterprise, because this is what they want to do. Total control over you. All right, total control. Implants in your head. Total control, man. You'll be like a zombie. And they're promoting this stuff. Look, they're actually promoting this stuff. But the Lord is gonna what? He's gonna disappoint them. He disappointed the devices of the crafty, so their hands could not perform their enterprise, that new world order. And that's why he's gonna send his son back to disrupt their satanic program. All right. But we have to warn you about these things, because at the end of the day, is something that is going to be worse than 70 AD, So we have to keep that faith, that same spirit that our forefathers had, Abraham. All of these stories, they're not just there for you to just read it and go, oh yeah, that's good. That's there to give you a divine inspiration, that the Lord has called you out of darkness into this marvelous light. And basically, he will put the spirit on you if you're a part of the elect. All right, to have faith in those times. And you'll be delivered, man. Whether it be via death. All right. Or you might be in some damn warehouse somewhere, and the Lord deliver you, man. Okay. It's happened before. And that's why those stories boost your faith. What does the Bible say? Faith cometh by hearing, and hearing the word of the Lord. All right. This is Hebrews 11:6. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. So without faith and confidence, all right, in Yahweh Shemeshai, it's impossible to please him. For he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is, all right, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. All right, so we have to diligently seek him, and that will give us, if you're of the elect, you're going to have that faith, and you're going to show that faith by your works, and that works is being diligent in his truth, and when it comes to those dark times, the Lord will deliver you. He delivered our forefathers, so why wouldn't he deliver you? The Lord is a man that he shouldn't lie. All right. So Rome is back on the earth today. All right, and they're gonna they're gonna have joy and glee when they what's it called, when they're gonna be destroying our people, man. They don't like our people anyway. All right, and that's how they were back then. So there's nothing new under the sun. They're going to do that again, man. 70 AD is going to come down to your ghettos and your neighborhoods, man. All right. So listen. Recap that this, what's it called? This garbage empire of America is Rome today. And back then you had Israelites that actually, that clip I just showed you, Flavius Josephus. They were talking about his, because they were talking about him because he was a historian, Flavius Josephus. You know, he was in bed with the Romans, and and there was a lot of our people that were in bed with the Romans, man. All right, the ones of our people that are in bed with New Rome, America, you're gonna perish with it. Simple as that, man. You've made a covenant with death. All right, so it's it ain't gonna get medieval out here. It's gonna be a time never seen before, man. You know. So I pray you were edified until next lesson. Shalom.